the Comox Valley, located on the traditional unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. Beautifully located between mountains and the ocean in the middle of Vancouver Island, in Canada's most western province of British Columbia.
Hi, I'm Allison Leet, and I'm an actor, director, and storyteller located here in the Comox Valley. And this is Creating Community.
Follow along as we meet the members of Courtney Little Theatre while they work towards mounting their winter production of Cinderella. We will learn what it takes to bring a show to life and about the types of roles required to make it happen. Let's go behind the curtain to discover the magic and the wonder that lies here.
Welcome to my community.
The world's a stage, and I'm grateful that you taught me how to be a part of something bigger than myself. That every role's important, from the lead to the supporting. So much of who I am and who I try to be is thanks to my community. Thanks to my community.
Stage managers are an integral part of bringing a show to life. They are in charge of the organization of the cast and crew during rehearsals and ensure the technical aspects of the show come together during the time at the theater. Meet Phyllis Katcher, one of the Comox Valley's beloved stage managers.
Thanks for inviting me. You have to be very organized, for sure. So you take all the rehearsals and scheduling from the director and send them out to cast and crew, taking all their conflicts, putting them into order, organizing everything. So basically all the director has to worry about is directing. During the rehearsal process, I write down all the blocking, so that way the actors, if they have to follow back on something, or the director has to follow back on something, we've got it recorded. Line cues, anything that's changed. Not necessarily the lights and sound will come after when we're actually in the theater, but in general, yeah. So I end up having two scripts, one for when we're in rehearsal to do all the blocking, all the erasing, whatever has to be done. I got involved in community theater with when my partner and I moved to BC. She was in a show, and so we were moving to British Columbia, and she wanted me to get involved, so I started off as an assistant stage manager. That was the first time I did that, and that was in 2007. And 2 years later, I did stage managing, and I've been there ever since. I'm a very reserved person. I mean, you know, I'm not as outgoing as people that are on the stage, and that's probably why I fit in so well as a stage manager. I can just step back. But that sense of community and bond that you feel, by the time you finish the show, it's, as they say, you get the bug. And that's exactly what it was. It bit me, and I liked it, and I wanted more. I stumbled into it. I didn't, because I really didn't know even what to expect as an assistant stage manager, but I really enjoyed it. And the sense of belonging was huge, and making the community itself really makes you feel welcome. And I think that's what kept me going, just that interaction. And because I am an organized person, I knew I could fill that role, but at the same time you get nervous until a director has faith in you and makes you realize that, yes, you can do this. And that was Susan. Respect and understanding. I pretty much now know what Susan is thinking as we go along. So the more you work with a director, the more you understand their vision, and you can see where they're going to go with certain things. And if you don't have that relationship, even on a personal level, it doesn't really work. So there's certain directors that, you know, a person will work with, and certain directors that they won't, and vice versa. So you have to have that bond right from the go. And I think that's something that Susan and I always have shared. I think when you finish a show, you have that sense of accomplishment, and just to see the outcome from the actors, from the audience, I think what keeps bringing me back is that sense of pride that you have when you do a show. When the audience members come into a show, they're there for 2 hours of their time where they can forget about the world and just come into our world of make-believe. And just that alone, knowing that, you know, they get a chance to escape it all, and knowing that you're a part of that, that's what I enjoy. That buzz of energy is exactly how you describe that. Watching the audience members coming in and all the hubbub of what they're talking about, when they look in the playbill of who's in what, and then you can start hearing some of the memories of the audience members. Oh, I remember when this person was in this. So you've got that type of a buzz. Then when I go backstage to check and make sure all the actors and everybody is ready, it is just, nobody's talking about the show, and that is what I always found amazing. Everybody is completely forgetting of what they're going to be doing on stage and just talking randomly, and that type of buzz is the most rewarding when you watch everybody and they're still smiling. Yes, you can tell they're nervous, but they're trying to forget about it until they get on that stage. And the minute they get on that stage, it's like it all just releases. I absolutely get nervous. Even though I'm not on the stage, I get nervous for the actors. There's a light cue that's coming up that could be a little tricky, especially with all the different sounds or what have you. And even though I love musicals, I am not a musical person. Like I can read music, but it's a little bit harder for ear training. So when there's a musical cue coming up and I have to do something based on music, I get nervous right there and then. And because I don't want to fail for the director, because the directors put their heart and soul into it, and I want to be able to give them that show that they've wanted. Until I'm done that first show, that's when I can go, whew. Because even during tech run, you're nervous, but not nearly like you are for that opening show. Once you know you've got that opening show, then you know if something's went wrong or amiss. The audience doesn't know because they don't know the script, which is great. But sometimes they do see stuff that just didn't go right. And you just, at the end of that, then you have got notes and you can correct it yourself. So yeah, I get nervous. Live theater, it's a different show every night. So there's many different things that, you know, will happen, but not enough where, you know, I would dwell on it. Missed lines, but that's where the actors come in, because if you've got a big chunk or a big monologue that's gone, somebody else steps up and tries to fill in for that person. But, you know, set changes, that could go amiss, something will topple over, just all part of live theater. But I don't get stressed out about that, just because, again, that's why I say it's a different show every night. And unfortunately, as a stage manager, you know, you're not always the best liked person, because I am having to settle people down. I'm always having to shush people when we're doing stuff, but there's no offense taken, because we all know it's part of the process. That's a tough one, in the fact of it's changed my life in many different ways. I've grown as an individual because, again, I'm more of a reserved person, so I've allowed a lot more people in my life. You see them on the street and you have an instant smile that you recognize, or they recognize you, and to see the growth of individuals and actors, of how they've become, all of that is part of my growing as well. And I think it's made me that better person, because you get all different people in the theater, everybody, and I can say that with 100% that everybody, there's always a place for everybody in theater. It may not be on the stage, it may not be backstage. You may be doing admin, you may be doing advertising, but there's always something for somebody. So if you want that sense of purpose, I think theater is the perfect place for that. It's definitely a time commitment, but it's well worth it when you see that end result. That's, for me, how community has built me up. And without that, I don't know, I live for theater now. I love to be able to come out as an audience member or as part of the crew to be able to make it happen. The actors really do. I cannot fathom how you guys do it on stage. I really don't. To be able to make that vision come alive. And there are shows that I have not seen, and you know, I may be a little hesitant to take on because I don't know it. But you guys as actors, the amount of time that you guys spend learning your lines, getting into character, just pulling it all together, I don't feel like I'm part of that at that point, because it's not me on that stage putting myself out there. And that is a huge moment. Like my hat's off to you guys. That's the nice thing about theater. I can't do what you do, and vice versa. I can't be a set designer. I just don't have that skill set. You know, so that's why it's important to have so many different people. You learn as you go as well. You learn your lighting, you learn your sound, you learn different things, but it's still, everybody has a specialty of something. And that's where everybody fits in. When you go back to seeing somebody when they're this high and so shy coming in and crying when they get on stage because they just figure they can't do it. And now to see that, and there's a couple of individuals that come to mind, and literally this little actor started crying because they just felt they couldn't do it. And it took a lot of coaxing. But after that first show, and now this little actor is in acting school. Right? So it only took that one. And then you get people like my son that I put in theater just to see what he would think of it. And he did the show. He wasn't interested in doing any others, which is great as well. So, but to see that progress when you know so many different people in the community, you know, they go off to, you know, go to ballet school, they go to acting school, they become, you know, themselves and fit in themselves. And that's what the community theater has done for them. It's given them that encouragement to be who they are, and they felt that need to be in there. And to see that growth itself is huge. I love seeing that. And as a community, I would not want to live in a smaller community where they don't have theater, because it's such a sad, there's so much talent out there that to see other actors or people having to go to another community to follow up on theater is just wrong, because then your own community is missing out and all this greatness. You've got people that come out for a show, for an audition, and all of a sudden you have no idea, you've never seen this person in their life, and they come out and they just wow you. And that is such a cool experience. Just as, where did you come from? You know, and then, you know, they move on. And that's the nice thing, is when you see that growth pattern of, you know, someone going from here all the way over to something really inspiring in their own life. Do it. Just come out. Even if you come out and spectate and work backstage just to see. If you're not sure where you want or what you want to do, you may have an aspiration that you want to be a specific role. And that's great, because that's kind of where I fell in. I didn't know theater, like, I had no experience with theater whatsoever. I knew it was there. I love musicals. I love watching theater. But once you come in, then you can kind of see where you fit and realize of how everybody has their little place. And we've got, you know, one little actor in our show right now that is so very shy. And to see this actor of, you know, encouraging them to, you know, fall in with the rest of them, it'll be interesting to see if this actor comes out for another one, because I think they will.
Stage managers are the glue that keeps the rest of the cast and crew organized and in working order. We couldn't do it without them. So next time you're at the theater, make sure you share your applause with those in the tech booth, because they deserve it.
We thought that we were only learning how to entertain, But growing up, I've realized just how much more we gain. The world's a stage, and I'm lucky that you taught me how to be a part of something bigger than myself. That every role's important, from the lead to the supporting. So much of who I am and who I try to be is thanks to my community. Thanks to my community.